Hi, it's Cage Taylor from the Nocturnal. So, for all you Wu-Tang Clan fans, I'm about to log on with RZA. RZA is the director of a new drama heist thriller film called Cutthroat City. The film takes place in the lower ninth ward of New Orleans, where a group of friends searches for stability and upwards mobility after Hurricane Katrina wreaks havoc. With little to no government aid, they turn to unlawful measures as a means of survival. Cutthroat City was written by Paul Kucheri. It stars Shameik Moore, Demetrius Shipp Jr., Denzel Whitaker, Keen Johnson, Ethan Hawke, Isaac Gonzalez, Kat Graham, Isaiah Washington, T.I., Terrence Howard, and Wesley Snipes. Now here's RZA. Hey, how's it going?
What up, y'all?
Okay, so first off, tell our viewers a little bit more about, your movie.
Okay. Well, first of all, great backdrop with the bricks. Okay. Peace. My name is RZA, and I'm the director of a new film called Cutthroat City. The film follows four young men who has a lot of aspirations and dreams in life, and those aspirations get washed away by Hurricane Katrina, the lack of government help from FEMA, and when aspirations get washed away, things turn into desperation.
Mm-hmm. And then, so why this movie, is coming out? I know I've been working on it a few years, but it's coming out now in the middle of a pandemic. So why this story about Hurricane Katrina now?
Well, the movie was slated to come out top of the year. I was going to appear in South by Southwest, and then the pandemic struck and just threw everything off. But this is the 15th year anniversary of Hurricane Katrina. Mm-hmm. And even though we're in a pandemic, and, I think at the same time, a lot of us are relying upon government help, especially in the Black community. We were relying on not just the Black community, anybody who's going through economic problems, and that spreads across communities, but our community is affected the most. And then government failed to do their part. They failed to do their part in 2005 in New Orleans. They failed to do their part in Puerto Rico when the flood came a few years later. You know what I mean? And they're failing to do their part right now. In all reality, when you see major corporations getting the benefit of all the economics, and yet the laymen are still suffering. So I didn't plan it. This wasn't the part of the plan. It just seems like, the universe always got its own plan anyway. I thought this film would be out, and it comes out right now when I think the conversation is even more pertinent.
Mm-hmm. And then, so what statement were you hoping to make, with not just the title, the plot, and some of the, smaller plot lines?
Well, in the film, I think I think we do make the statement of the limitations of opportunity in impoverished communities. Like, these are not gangsters. My characters in the film, Blink, Miracle, Junior, Dre, these are, even though, Miracle's a little bit, is a little zoned out, but these characters are, one went to college, and thought he'd come out and get a job, right? One is a musician. One is trying to just raise his own kennel and be an entrepreneur and breed dogs. But nah, it's like people have aspirations and people are trying to do things. People want to work, but opportunities, the opportunity for some time in those communities is crime is your opportunity. All right. In my day, the opportunity was street pharmaceuticals and things like that. And so I hope that the viewers of the film could feel that part, to see that, wow, these guys got to make a choice with a limited supply of, they got to choose from cars. With only a few cars to choose from.
Mm-hmm. So why, given your background, you're from East Coast, why New Orleans? Well,
the script came to me, I feel like almost 7 years ago, it came to me. And when I first read it, I said, okay, New Orleans, okay, cool. I'm not part of that community. But something about the four characters and what they was going through resonated with me. So then I read it again. And I was like, I don't care if you're in New Orleans, Baltimore, or Staten Island, New York. This is the story of our community. Okay, for them, it's Katrina, right? For Flint, it's the water. You know what I mean? It's like the story exists. It existed in my own life in all reality. You know, trying to put together the Wu-Tang Clan and going through the racism of Staten Island at that moment in time. It's like, yo, the forces was against us. You know what I mean? And we had to figure our way out. So when I went back and to the writer and was like, and told him how I would do the story, he was like, wow, that sounds great. You know what I mean? He appreciated that I had the empathetic ability to feel these characters. And I was able to, even though I didn't experience that disaster, I experienced disasters. And he was able to, he sort of, yo, his take on it is crazy. And then they got the producers in and they heard the same thing. And everybody's like, yo, this is the right director. Because it went out to, I mean, when they send movies out, they send them out to probably 20 directors. And they got to choose which one they want to do it.
So then who would you say is, or what would you say, what would you say is the villain in this movie? Is it their circumstances? Is it the government? Is it, just trying to survive? Or is it, people doing crimes themselves?
No, I think it's all the above. It's, it's like who's the hero, who's the villain, right? It's like life, the pendulum swing both ways, right? To me, the worst villain in the movie, like who would say is like the most, I guess the one who they said this guy is the worst guy, he'll kill your mother and kill your family is the Saint. His name is the Saint, though, right? How can a saint be the worst guy in a situation like this, right? And he's played by Terrence Howard in our movie. But it's just like, then when you meet him, there's something warm about him, right? There's something else about him. Something else is there. So I think that the goal of survival becomes the total opposition. And that survival is different for different parts of our characters. Like for our four guys, we know what the struggle is. And then for, look at Wesley Snipes' character, just trying to survive in the swampland as a father, crawfishing, which is, a lot of people in New Orleans, that's what they do. That's where they at. You look at Andre and his mother, he's hoping that he could bring money home from being the front line, in a, band, playing music, down in the quarters or whatever, he's only bringing home singles. He's not even bringing home $5 bills now. He's bringing home singles, and they're trying to survive. They're surviving off. I made it really a point because I come from a family of 11 children, and 5 bologna sandwiches was like, that's what it was. That was dinner, right? On a good night, because grits could be dinner on nights as well. I made it a point to point that out, when the mother comes in and she says like, yo, save some of that bologna for your sister, man. It's like, you got to spread it around. And that's how survival gets. This is not poverty porn. The movie is nowhere, you've seen it already, so it's not poverty porn. But I just wanted to make sure that people understood that the struggle, the level of struggle that our people go through is sub-level. And we just trying to get to the surface. Some people, they just, they on the 10th floor already. For our community, we sub-level. You know what I mean? And that goes back to what he said, Hurricane Katrina has always been here. It just had a different name,
Yeah, that's like a really good metaphor in itself. The city obviously being sub-level and having, already being, I guess, behind and needing to catch up. But you're fitting so many different elements into this movie, friendship, action, crime, romance, religion, motherhood. How do you fit that into a movie and just like, make sure everything is flowing and, make sure everything, gets told, each part gets told with each his respects?
I mean, as a director, first the writer, Paul did a good job, He came from a police family. He understood some dynamics and, things he heard his family deal with, and he had his opinion of that, and he put it in his writing. And then for me as a director is like Captain Kirk on a ship, yo. And in that capacity, this is a story about life, and life consists of all those things. Life consists of romance, it consists of tragedy, it consists of comedy, it consists of religion. And so I made sure as a storyteller that those things was part of my characters. You know what I mean? You know, there's a scene that, you know, every scene is not written. When you're making a movie, it begins to breathe and takes a life of its own. And, you know, when I'm watching Shamik as the actor who never held a gun before, okay? Not to talk about him, you know, but he's an actor. He's not no thug. You know, he could be he's Spider-Man or something, right? But he never held a gun before. So he didn't know how to load the gun or none of that, right? And yet his character must do that. His character, he doesn't, you know, he's a single guy. He doesn't have a child, but his character has a child. And so when I advised him, I said, listen, the part of you that never held a gun, yeah, I want that to come on screen. I said, so now you're about to leave your son tomorrow and go do a crime and you never held a gun. And even your character, let's say he never held a gun. What would you do? What would you do? I said, I don't know. What would you? I said, what would you ask me what I do? I said, I would pray, man. You know what I mean? Because even though you're going to do something bad, you're praying to make it home. And so he agreed. He's like, yeah, wow. And he went and the camera waited for him to get the spirit and he went and he did that prayer. And that wasn't in the script, but for me, it was like, that's the reality that I would hope a man would have who's not naturally a criminal, because none of our characters are natural criminals. Look, to be honest with you, reversing this whole stereotype about black men, none of us are natural criminals, man. You know what I mean? You know, even one of the worst criminals that I knew said to me, you know, after he served this 15 years, he had a chance to sit down and talk to me. He said, Riz, I'm really just a nerd. I'm just a nerd, man. He said everything I did was like in defense of myself, in defense of the opportunities that I had. He said circumstances made me a criminal, but I'm just a nerd. Which is crazy, because this guy went to jail for something crazy, you know what I mean? But it's so the point I was making about opportunity and aspirations turning to desperation, it's just like, if you had 6 cans of soda to choose from, you're going to have a choice. But if I'm only giving you 1 can, right, you could choose that can. And for our characters, it became down to that 1 can. They didn't have a lot of choices.
And then, so last question, the ending. The ending has a little bit of turns. So without giving things away, like, what was your thought when you watched that for the first time after making the film at the ending?
Well, look, you know, as a movie maker, you know, you play video games?
Yeah.
Okay, you know how sometimes like you could do different endings on a video game?
Yeah.
So even when you do a movie, you kind of are doing that. You're thinking it as you're making it and you're looking. And a lot of, in the last 10 years, maybe last 10, 12 years, you know, I would say actually during the DVD boom, there was like, you could hit B to see alternative endings, right? And so when I shot the film, I thought that as well. I thought how does this story end? What's the best ending for this story? And so I just left it to the audience to think about it now. So I made it to as you could put the ending in your own mind. To me, the best films and the best things I experience are the things that leave me with a question. And I hope that there's a couple of questions left in this movie when you walk away.
Great. So I guess let's end this with giving us the details about how to see it, when to see it, things like that.
Yep. So Cutthroat City in theaters July 31st for, you know, parts of the country that's open. So you can go out and see it. And if you don't make it to the theater this summer, then you can wait a couple of months and catch it, you know, on your home screen.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much. Like you said, out in theaters soon. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Peace.